I know one thing. If this guy comes on this show and says he's a Edmonton EE fan or whatever that team's called, I know something.
All right.
I can't even say that then, can I, Charleston? Oh, boy.
Yeah. We'll get into that, Jason.
We're starting off the show the wrong way.
Starting off the show.
I'll tell you the story behind the whole thing, and then you'll understand it, okay? I was young and vulnerable, all right?
That's usually most Edmonton Eskimo fans be able to say that stuff. So
they're not the Eskimos anymore.
No, it's the Edmonton Football Club or something like that, or the Edmonton football team or something like that.
I call them the Edmonton Snowflakes. But anyway, here we go, folks. How you doing? I am Johan. This is Charleston. We are the Better with Age show. Today's guest is joining us from Saskatoon, Jason Beres. Is that the proper? Beres. Jason Beres. Welcome to the show, Jason. Today's show is one of the, as you can tell by Charleston's background, that as unique as background as he always is something I think is very dear and special to a lot of us. And one of the things that we'd love to be able to find out more about. Charleston did a great job of tracking down Jason. I don't even know how you know Jason, Charleston. Like most of the people that you meet.
I meet people in peculiar ways.
Very true. Very true. Charleston met Jason, and Jason and Charleston have been talking back and forth. And today's episode is going to be about mental health and something that we all can relate to, whether we are parents, whether athletes, whether we're working individuals, whether we have, kids out there that are affected by mental health. This is something that reaches out to all of us. So very important topic, especially nowadays. So Jason, welcome to the show. You're a Saskatoon guy. I know we were talking about your affiliation to your hockey teams, of the Oilers, and then the Eskimo or the Snowflake or the whatever they're called in Edmonton. Charleston doesn't like that already, so.
I know, man. We stepping off on the wrong foot. When I first met you, you did not say that to me, and I see why you didn't say that to me. Oh man.
I wasn't gonna start off on the wrong foot when we just meet a guy. Like, come on, give me a break here.
Yeah. See, nah. See, you come on this show to talk about something that you use because you're an Edmonton fan.
He's using this platform.
He's using his own.
Let me tell you, I was 5 years old. My uncle took me to my first game in Commonwealth. They played the Riders, as a matter of fact, and I was hooked. Right? I was hooked. I was forced into the Eskimo or football team or club or whatever you want to call them today.
Yeah. No, that's all right. I'm an Argo fan too, Jason. So growing up in Saskatchewan, being a fan of another team. Yeah, I know how it is. So I know Charleston's.
I can't wait till we start talking about this device that you have to help with mental health, because both of you guys need it.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, Jason. Let's talk about your business, InvictaVR, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
If you can talk to us about that, what is that? Explain to our viewers what it's all about and what you're trying to do, how you're trying to change the world, and yeah.
I'm glad you really touched on that right at the beginning, Johan, about you mentioned kids, and you mentioned business, and you mentioned sports or athletes, and you mentioned military, the cops. It's everything. So essentially, InvictaVR, we are using it as a mental health strengthening and conditioning tool. That's my phrase for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's going to be used for going forward. And the 4 subjects are education. It's funny that you'd say kids, because that's what we're dealing with today outside our windows today, is people teaching their kids inside their houses. Sports, business, and health and wellness. And underneath all those subjects, there is literally an endless amount of modules that we have cooked up already for those. We started off with education because of what is happening outside our windows today. And we understand that people do have that, that issue with teaching their kids within their own walls. And the biggest one that we touched on is kids with learning disabilities. And so whether it be ADHD or dyslexia or calculia, whatever kind of learning disability you're dealing with, InvictaVR is going to help you out with that. Right now, you're basically given a drug. Oh, your kid has ADHD. Here, take this drug. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's not the fix to me. We're not going to be using InvictaVR as a virtual reality learning center. We're using InvictaVR as a training center. So we are going to train or retrain your brain in order for you to cope with whatever you have. So whether you are dealing with mental health, and I'll use Charleston as an example, not because of that, Charleston, but I'll use Charleston as an example as an athlete on the sports side of it. Dealing with visualizing winning as a team, visualizing losing as a team, dealing with teammates, dealing with coaches, dealing with fans, dealing with social media nowadays. The modules really for that are endless. And then, you go down the road into like the business thing. Business and sports kind of overlap because they all kind of deal with the same thing: anxiety, depression, dealing with customers. It's really the same thing. Those two are going to kind of overlap. And then the health and wellness one is endless, literally endless. I woke up at 2:30 one night. I had a dream that we used InvictaVR with postpartum depression. And so I woke up and I just started writing modules for it, for postpartum depression. And it's really taken off from there. Like, you can do everything from the mental wellness that you are with if you're dealing with cancer or any sort of type of injury or any sort of type of family disease. Any really, it touches on literally anything that you can really think of. And so that's where we decided that, this is going to really go within Saskatchewan, within Canada, within the international borders, and then worldwide. It's really, the interesting stat to me is where we started with education with kids is that 1 in 5 kids have a diagnosed learning disability. 2 in 5 don't. So now you have 3 in 5 kids that have a possible learning disability. And, you throw that out there. And when I first read it, I thought, wow, that seems awfully high. And then, you go and you talk to people within the schooling system, teachers, superintendents, whatever. And they're like, yep, it's out there. And we don't really have enough resources for that. This is going to be it.
Wow. And that's amazing to be able to even to think of and to comprehend how that's going to be able to help out, especially, with the teachers. My wife is a teacher. She's came home many times and just, we all know now, especially during COVID, what it means to be a teacher out there, because each of us are out there teaching our kids in our own environment now at homes, but to see what the teachers have to deal with. And my wife, I'm lucky enough that my wife comes back to me and she opens up to me about how the difficulties, it's such a touchy subject, mental health. Nobody knows how to be able to, I think, in my opinion, how to be able to approach it, how to be able to, like you mentioned, Jason, to be able to deal with it with drugs. How do you deal with diagnosing it? The 1 in 5, then the 2 in 5 that aren't. It's just something that we don't know, right? Everybody's kind of learning, and we're learning the old-fashioned way, or we're learning by something that seems like it's not effective. I know I can tell you stories about my son in grade 5. Unfortunately, there was a kid that didn't know how to deal with anxiety or didn't know how to deal with it in grade 5. And he looked to be able to harm himself. And thankfully, he wasn't effective in doing that. But, I was blown away by that, going, how can this be happening? And us as parents and coaches, and is that how can we start to be able to diagnose this, or how do we be able to tap into this and to start to be able to recognize this and to be able to help out our loved ones and our family and friends and everybody else?
This is the greatest thing about that.
From a sports perspective, like the same way, like no one really paid attention to like mental health, because you got all these football players and all these basketball players, and they have to hold a certain persona, I guess you can say, and they have to hold, your emotional and mental state isn't thought of because you're always trained to think a certain way and to act a certain way, when you're on and off the field. So it's like drilled into you that you're not supposed to be weak. You're not supposed to have mental breakdowns. You can't have brain farts, is what we call them in sports. So, and it happens with athletes, but we've been drilled and trained so hard that people forget that, you know, we're still human at the same time. I mean, we mentally go through breakdowns. We mentally go through, you know, weak points where, you know, we're not in our best state of mind, I guess you can say. But I mean, it happens all over. It even happens, like I said, with my kid right now. I mean, it took us a while to kind of see, like, okay, maybe she's a little depressed, but you don't think a 9-year-old gets depressed. You think a 9-year-old is supposed to be living their best life and being happy. But no, kids get depressed just like adults get depressed. So, and it's hard for adults and parents to actually notice, pick up, and focus on that kind of stuff to know when your kid's not in their right state of mind.
You know, and part of that, Charleston, as well, is maybe like the denial of it, and you know, where parents are like, oh, my kid isn't depressed, my kid is normal, right? My kid is 9 years old and living their best life, right? But in the background, you never ever know what's happening, or never know who it might be. That's the greatest thing about InvictaVR, is that it's essentially going to be, you can use it in your comfort of your own home, essentially, that there won't be any kind of outside pressure for you to use it or not use it. The modules are basically, it's like an Amazon, where you're shipped the headset and the down the road the biofeedback sensor, and you're going to be able to use that at your own leisure. So if you're in just within your own four walls, where there's really nothing that should be bothering you, that's where we're going to go into the training part of it, where it's not just that playing a game. It's not a game whatsoever. This is not going to be marketed as a gaming device. This is an actual training device, and it is going to be used as a brain training activity.
So Jason, can you tell me a little bit about that? How is it going to work? What is the VR part about it? And can you explain a little bit about that?
I know I've put that VR thing on before, one time in the middle of a mall before, and they take you on that roller coaster ride, and you looking all over the place. And sometimes I feel stupid because I know that the outsiders are looking at me, and I'm looking all over the place like, what the hell?
What's that?
And that it's really no different, Charleston, to be honest with you. So within every module, so whether it be education, sports, business, or health and wellness, you pick your setting. And so, for example, I'll use the education one. You pick your setting. The setting is a classroom that you would see in today's classroom. It's broke down into essentially 9 to 12-year-olds and 13 to 17-year-olds. And when you put the VR goggles on, you sit at the class just like you would as you did go to school today, and the teacher's in front of you. The bell rings, the teacher says, okay, class, we're going to start module XYZ. You hit the button on the VR hand controller, and now you start your module. And now there might be different distractors. There may be whatever you're dealing with, I guess, that's what the module is going to be letting you do. Okay, so I'll use ADHD one, for example, because that's one we have, are going to be the first one out. Mm-hmm. And so essentially what it is the user or the student is sitting at the desk. The distractors are possibly kids whispering, put their arm up, and the teacher goes over and answers, the birds chirping at the window, the clock ticking. A simple thing as a child with ADHD with the clock ticking drives them absolutely bananas. For the three of us, we probably wouldn't even notice it. For a kid with ADHD, it's right on the top of their mind. And as soon as they have that module in front of them, we have ocular tracking within the VR headset. So it automatically notices that instead of them doing their module for whatever it be, reading, math, science, whatever it is, as soon as they lift their eyes up from that module, and it looks like a tablet, it looks like an iPad, to be honest with you, as soon as they lift their eyes up from that and go to look at the clock or go to look at that kid whispering, if they do that too much and then their focus is lost, it'll cut back out into a coherent breathing pattern to get you back into a focused type of state. So now you get back into that focus type of state, get your breathing back down to where your anxiety is down and you're not distracted anymore. And now back to the module. And really, you can't really do it for any more than 15 or 20 minutes because that's the kid's attention span. And so when you get to that stage and it cuts out, you move on. You don't do it the next day. It may be 2 days down the road, and maybe 3 days down the road. But now you put it back on, and you go back and you continue on with your module. The more you can do that, we're not using repetition. Every module is going to be different. Repetition does not work. You need to actually train the brain through doing it, not just memorizing it. And so every time you do go through these modules and you actually do it, you actually get a little bit further down the road in recovery too, whether it be distractors, whether it be dyslexia, whether it be PTSD, or you mentioned it earlier there. It's just, chewing off a little bit at a time. If you're doing really well, we actually have it split out into like easy, medium, and hard. So you'll start out easy, and if you just breeze through it and you never have a distractor, great. We'll bump you up to the medium one, maybe faster. But as per the actual modules themselves, if you are struggling with the actual distraction itself within it, or the PTSD training, or the visualizing, Charleston, if you're being the bad boy in the room in the team meetings and you can't visualize, that's where actually the big one is going to be the rolled out for the sports one on the mental health side of it, where you actually sit down a team of 23 or 25 or 40 players, and they all have a headset on and they all visualize the exact same thing.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, man. Like I remember when I first mentioned, you kind of hinted towards it, and I was a little skeptic. I ain't gonna lie, because I was like, I don't know about putting on a VR set, because I get kind of spooked about it from the start, right? Just putting something over your eyes, and then your senses are kind of cut off and directed into one screen that's on your face, and you can't see anything else. So your focus is on that screen, but subconsciously you're kind of aware that you're in a room, but I don't know. It's just a simple fact that I can't see what's around me, but I can focus on the screen.
I'm glad you said that, Charleston, because we're actually, as soon as this gets rolled out and as soon as we can, get to the scalability portion of my plan, we're actually going to be building one for TV. So you don't have to have the VR headset on. And it's a lot for people with sensory issues. A friend of mine has a 7-year-old daughter with Down syndrome, and she has a touch on the autistic scale side of it. And she has sensory problems, right? People with Downs, for the most part, have sensory, but with a touch of autistic, it's obviously there. So we're actually, the idea came out from him to actually build it towards a TV screen. So you can actually go and put it on your TV, and you don't have to have the goggles on for the sensory issues. You don't have to have the biofeedback sensors on for the sensory issues. And now you just go and you watch it just like you go and watch a TV show. And yet it's still a training type of procedure throughout the whole thing. It's going to be timed. It's going to be placed. It's going to be, the feedback is going to tell us where you are in your recovery. And the biofeedback is the next phase going to be phased into the InvictaVR, and I can't wait for that. That is going to be amazing, because biofeedback, when it tracks either your brain movement, your heart movement, your posture, whatever it does, whatever it tracks, will tell us exactly where you need to focus or where you need to refocus in order to train your brain. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be amazing.
So how long?
There's nothing out there like it. I'll put it to you that way. There is zero out there.
Wow, that's the first of its kind. Hey, that's unbelievable to be able to think about and to do that. How long would it take then, for you to be able to have an effect on someone, on a child? Like you mentioned that you're starting to be able to work on that, or I guess is everybody going to be different, right? But I mean, normally, what's your timeline when you think that that something like this can have an effect on someone?
You hit the nail on the head. Everybody's going to be different. Yeah. The one a gentleman that we work with today is Adam Chomos from Regina.
Yep.
He is a mental health facilitator, and in his experience, it could be 3 months, it could be 3 days, not necessarily, but it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be all your life. So there's some people that just slowly build up to it. There's some people that they aren't affected by it that badly, and then it just the light bulb goes off for them, and they're like, aha, I get it. I don't need to bother looking at that clock. It makes zero difference to what I was doing before, and they get it earlier. Or the PTSD part of it, some may be affected better or worse by it, and it all takes is where you want your brain to get trained, or how fast you want to get your brain to get trained. And it's really not up to the user, to be honest with you. It's really up to their brain. It's really up to what their focus can get to.
Wow, unbelievable.
Wow.
So how can you work with athletes like Charleston? Or, I mean, some of the things that you have, what are the goals, or Charleston, I'll ask you this question. How would you like to be able to train, your brain? Is it possible? What are your goals that you would like to be able to maybe change? The anxiety or the turnaround, or what would you like to be able to focus on for yourself as an athlete? What are some of your thoughts on this?
I mean, like I said, right away, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what, this is a good thing, because I've done like meditation, just voice audio kind of meditation. I've done meditation programs like that before, and I do feel like it helped me a lot, just by calming down, focusing your energy in the right places, putting your thoughts in the right places, but taking it to a point where now it's probably audio and visual at the same time. I mean, I really don't know. Like it's something different that's never been done before. Like I know I subconsciously do it on my own when I'm on the field or I'm pregame or I'm warming up or anything. I'm subconsciously visualizing how I'm gonna attack somebody, what I'm gonna do on this play. If this position happens anytime in the game, I automatically know how I'm gonna react to it. And I visualize the whole time about what I'm going to do, how he's going to play me, what I'm going to do against him, how I'm going to counter. So like I have visual thoughts of it the whole time, but actually seeing it like on a screen or right attached to my face, I mean, that'll take stuff to a whole nother level, especially for me.
Yeah. And Jason,
sorry, go ahead.
No, what would you talk about to, let's say you mentioned one of the 4 categories as athletes. What would you then talk about to Charleston? How would you be able to benefit them, and what would be your conversation with them moving forward?
I'm glad you said that, Charleston, because I'll ask this question too. So you mentioned about how he's going to play you and whatever. You get that off of videotape right now, right? Or you watch the tape and you kind of see what his strengths and weaknesses are, right? You basically did a SWOT analysis on the guy without even writing it down. You just kind of visualized as to what how he's played before, how he's played in the past. You've played him in the past, probably maybe, or blah blah blah, your experience against him. So this is part of that. I'm glad you said that, because part of what we have broken out into the athletes part of it is actual. So you won't have to do that videotape anymore. You don't have to do that prep anymore. We're going to have it in front of you on the VR. So you're going to be able to work through your hand movements, your whatever you're doing as a rush end, in order to train yourself without being on the field. So part of that is going to be, mental awareness that, okay, in the VR, he did this, and it's all going to be based off of reality, right? So for a guy like you, Charleston, it's going to be huge. I mean, they do it now for like a baseball where you hit the ball off the tee. We're taking this to a whole nother level.
Are you going to be able to make sure that the Eskimos or the Snowflakes or get it last in the procedure, or the Rough Riders first?
If the Rough Riders aren't first, I know something.
Yeah.
Because of A, where I live, B, where my friends are, and who I know. Charleston, thank you very much. Nick Lewis, thank you very much. My family is all diehard Rider fans, obviously, and so if I wouldn't have the Riders first, I definitely would hear about that. There's no doubt
There
about
you go. There you go. You heard it first on the show. Riders are the first priority here for the
that.
VR work for the athletes.
So I know we got a lot of followers from all over, man. We got followers from Vegas, Michigan, California. We got all across Canada. So I know a lot of our followers are more business people, more business mindset. So how would this sort of technology kind of, play with somebody that's, your everyday worker, go to work 9 to 5, get off work, I'm tired, stressed, kind of probably need a beer, but all right, if I can't have a Red Racer beer, then I'll have to move on to something else.
Good plug.
So we're going to essentially, from the business side of it, it's no different than depression is depression is depression. It doesn't matter what field you're in or who you are. So to decompress when you come home, when you put the InvictaVR set on and you pick your module. So say you're feeling stressed, so you do have some sort of anxiety module or a depression module or whichever one it is, whatever you're feeling, you go ahead and you pick that one. They're all going to be accredited through psychologists. Okay, so every one of them are going to be accredited through theory by psychology. So if you go ahead and you pick your depression one and you go through the module, by the end of it, your anxiety should be all the way down because your biometric feedback will say, okay, my heart rate has come down to normal. My brainwave or my EEG activity has come down to normal. I can breathe again because we just did a coherent breathing pattern or a meditation, as you called it, Charleston. So when you get to the actual module itself and you go ahead and see it done, at the end of it, your anxiety and your stress level will just be like, come down. And then hopefully going to work that next day, you're going to remember some of that stuff. You keep using it as long as you can, train yourself in order to deal with that 9 to 5 stress, deal with that. And like I said, customers, the boss, maybe a good customer, a bad customer, right? It doesn't always have to be bad, right? So it's the whole thing is to get over whatever is going to, you feel that's going to be plaguing you. How's that?
Yeah. Do you have one? Do you have one for marriages? Because I know if you have one for marriages, you're going to be a millionaire by week 3 here and be able to do that with a lot of my friends. Do that and how to deal with the wives are going to want it, the husbands are going to want it, like that. But that's fantastic, and that's definitely a way that just to be able to think about it just makes, there's so many questions that I'm just thinking about it, and it makes sense, right? How to be able to train the brain, how to be able to go over that, how to be able to get over the stress, or how to deal with the boss, or for me it's sales, right? How many beers we got to sell today? I got to sell these beers. I'm going to go into there, and for me a lot of times, even though I've been a salesman for 19 years, sometimes it's the same thing, the anxiety of the fear of the no, right? And how to be able to do that, and how to be able to overcome those when you're going into it. And even though I've been doing this for how long, I still get that, sometimes that anxiety, or you get a big call or a big account, and to do that. So that's unbelievable.
And that comes, part of the business side of it is going to come from my background as well, Johan. My sales is a background. Mm-hmm. I've got an actual sales consulting business that I work with right now, or that I own right now, buzzysales.com. And it basically is, we do training for guys no different than yourself, where you're in sales and you're like, how do I overcome that? No. Yep. Now we're going to just take that to the next level with technology. And so instead of going to a training session, or coaches are never a bad thing, but instead of doing it within a one-on-one, you can actually do it within a VR setting now, and actually go ahead and choose your sales how-to guide in there, and learn how not to accept the no.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love the fact that you can do that in the privacy of your own home. I can do that when I want, and then I can go through that and then keep on replaying that and going through there. So that's unbelievable. So tell us about a little bit more about your target market then. You're going to be it's anybody, right? Like it really, anybody, any part of the world. You're going to start off here in Saskatchewan in Canada, or what is the timeline, and what are your goals like for the next little while?
So as of today, as I speak to you, we're in development right now to writing the modules to the headset. We are working with a company called Pico. They have a headset called the Pico Neo 2i, and it has the ocular tracking in it. It's complete standalone, so you don't have to have it hooked to a PC. So you could literally be at the lake and use it if you really wanted to. It's a complete standalone. So the module is going to be actually written to the hardware within the headset itself. You don't need anything else, anything less, anything more. In addition to that, we're actually making an app in the background in order for parents, even for yourself, Johan, if you go ahead and put it on, it'll actually track your productivity. So, okay, this is how good I did today while having the VR headset on. This was my EEG activity. This was my ECG activity. This is where I felt anxiety. This is where I felt leveled out. This is where I felt calm. You know, it'll actually give you that. So you're like, okay, now I know kind of how to deal with that, or where my anxiety lies. So I'll work on that a little bit more, right? But essentially, it literally, you just use it anywhere you want.
Wow. Wow, that's like I said, I can't keep on. I keep on thinking about more and more and more different ways to be able to use it. Like I said, in my marriage, in my work, you know, in sales with my kids, I can't say that enough. And then, you know, a few things that I keep on thinking about is some of my friends. I get some good friends that you know, have had their brothers commit suicide. I've had their, you know, family members commit suicide. I've had you know, friends, coworkers, you know, wives, husbands, you name it. And one of the things that one of the last shows we did was with the cops and with, you know, our neighbor's firefighter, and, you know, the amount of stress that they go through on a daily basis when they come home, and how to decompress, how to be able to, you know, to be able to deal with all that, and how to, nobody trains us for this, right? No, there is no book on this, on how to, when you're a firefighter, you come home from dealing with 3 drug addicts that you've just recessed and brought back to life, or you see somebody that was killed in an accident. There is no book on, you know, how to be able to do that. Each person is different. So, you know, to be able to think about how you can be able to train your brain to be able to start to deal with that is going to be a life changer for so many people and so many occupations.
And, you know, let's face it, every parent wants the best for their children, right? Like, there's no doubt in my mind. So today, when you send a child to school with a learning disability, we don't have the resources in our schools to have a TA or an EA that can give that kid 2 or 3 or 4 hours a day. We just don't have that. It's just not available, and it's not feasible to do that. And so, you know, we talked about, you know, the target market. So education facilities is obviously, you know, tops on our list. Hospitals, professional clinics, literally every business in the cities that we both live in every city that you've ever traveled to. It's not probably necessarily for every household, but that being said, because that we're only doing it modules by the month. So if you want to go ahead and order one by the month and see if it's actually going to make a difference to you, go ahead. If you didn't think that it makes any difference, maybe it's not for you. But I know, I'll speak for myself, that there's days where, you know, I'm the most positive, upbeat guy that, you know, that most people will say, where do you get that from, right? I mean, that's how do you be like that all the time, right? It's annoying, you know. And yet, you know, some days there's last month, as a matter of fact, I had 2 days that I was just in a funk. Like, I'm telling you, like, I've never been that way, and I contributed to, like, the stress that you put yourself under, right? Yeah. And of course, InvictaVR was just, you know, kind of, you know, the wheels started to really get rolling on it, and I want it to be the best, right? I'm not putting this out to be second best, that's for sure. And so, you know, a lot of sleepless nights, you're not eating right, you're not drinking water, you're not taking care of yourself. Guess what? It just plays its toll on you, right? Takes its toll on you. And I was just in the crapper for 2 days. And I thought to myself, man, it would be nice to have InvictaVR right now because I could use it, right? And so it's not just for people who are quote unquote clinically depressed. It is not. It's for people who just feel that they need a pick me up and how to deal with that next level, right? And that's why it really is for everyone. It's not. We don't have a target market as per se because it really can be for everybody. That's which. Awesome. Why wouldn't I leave it open to everybody? If you want to go ahead and try it and use it, try it. Yeah, what's the least that could happen, right?
The one thing I was thinking about just now is just because of my background and it looks all kind of spooky and stuff like that with this, with that red light just buzzing over my head. But I guess the one thing I was thinking about was concussions. So how could this, equipment device, I wouldn't think it would be considered a medical device, right? It's just a training device.
Before you go on, I'm in the process of getting it approved as a class 1 or 2 medical device. As soon as it gets approved for a class 1 or 2 medical device, healthcare will cover it, or private insurance will cover it. That way, it does open it up to literally everyone.
Wow,
it goes to my next point about concussions. Every athlete deals with concussions, whether you're baseball, hockey, it don't even matter. All concussions happen at all different, levels of sports. Now, putting something over this head, I know with football, I've never had a concussion from what I can remember. But but if a guy goes through a concussion, usually the concussion protocol is you got to go into a dark room, sit in a dark room for maybe 15 minutes. Come out of the dark room. Are you okay? Ask the appropriate questions. Do you know your name? Do you know the date? Do you know what time it is? Usually I get all those questions wrong anyways. But when it comes to concussions, how would this device kind of, play a part in either exposed to a concussion or pre-exposed to a concussion or post?
I'm glad you said that. We're actually going to be writing protocols for concussions only. And it's actually going to be available on the bench for concussion protocols only. And if you are concussed, it'll immediately tell you that you're concussed. And here's how you, retrain yourself, or here's how you get back after your concussion. I'm really glad you asked that, though, Charleston. That's a really good one, and it's very prevalent in sports, like you said. With it, it doesn't matter. Pick a sport. It really doesn't matter. Field hockey. It could be ringette. It could be anything. You hit your head the wrong way, you get a concussion, right? It's not rocket science, but the whole thing about this is that it's going to have the protocols built into it for as many things as you guys can think of. We've thought of it 1,000 times, and they're all going to be there. It's all going to be in the scalability of InvictaVR, but it's going to all be there. And I mean, I can't tell you that it's going to be there next month. We want to have the education one out by the end of first quarter 2021, and go from there. User feedback is going to be starting on that here within the next couple of weeks, and go from there. The user feedback is on all of them is going to be key to the success as to where the protocols actually go or where the modules go. Okay, so stay tuned for that for sure.
So then how do we find out more about this? What's the best way to be able to keep on, because I know for one, I got so many questions. I'm going to keep on watching you. Is there a general platform that you want us to be watching, or anything that we can be checking out at all times? Your Facebook, your webpage, your Instagram?
Where is this thing gonna be at? Where can I get one?
I'm gonna put your name on. I'm gonna put your name on the top of the list here right now, Charleston, because I like you and I think you're a good dude. So yeah. I'm gonna put your name number 1, Charleston Hughes. Done. Okay.
Forget number 1. I want to be on the cover, just like this guy back here. Just put my face on there. On the cover, just like that.
Such a model, Charleston. Such a model. Always wanted to be the cover boy of everything. Yeah.
It probably isn't going to be like the Madden cover. I'm not going to lie to you, Charleston. But
look, you see what my shirt say, right?
Both of our shirts are in the nice baller gear.
Yeah, we got to get you a shirt, by the way.
Yeah, I need a shirt from you, buddy. I need a shirt. So for right now, because of the intellectual property that's involved in it, there really isn't anything published anywhere yet. That will be available very soon. I'm not going to withhold it, very much longer, but InvictaVR.com will be going here shortly along with the app. I have to hire some sort of marketing manager or a social media manager for Facebook and all that other stuff, because I'll admit I don't have time for that very much, and I'm not very good at it. So the pictures are usually just of my dog or something. But so yeah, that's in the works as well.
Get Charleston too right now. He's got lots of free time apparently, and not going to be playing football of late. So,
man, tell me about it.
It's announced today that Winnipeg is the official hub city if there's going to be football. But so we can just follow you on your webpage. We can follow you on your Facebook eventually.
I do have InvictaVR _tech on Instagram, and I will have a Facebook page up and running to show what the progress is of the updates here shortly. But the very first one,
_tech.
Yeah, TECH.
Okay. That's where the people can ask all the questions that they need to ask you about mental health and how the machine works, how the technology works.
Yep. And then we're actually going to have a live demo on there coming up here within the next I'll say 3 weeks to a month of the first module, just to give a snippet of it. And I'm working with SAS Polytech here out of Saskatoon, and I couldn't be working with a better bunch of guys. They're amazing people. Just took my idea and ran with it, and the product looks amazing. It looks like it was done in Silicon Valley, and that's not a word of a lie. It looks spectacular.
That's fantastic. I love the fact too that we are supporting Saskatchewan. This is a Saskatchewan idea, and getting everything growing from within. So that's fantastic. Can I offer Charleston and myself for some guinea pigs if you ever need somebody to come in and put on the VR, or to be able to have any kind of examples of anything that you need for us? Or
I ain't no damn guinea pig. I am an ambassador.
So, okay, he's going to be the ambassador. I'll be the guinea pig. So no problem.
Fair enough.
He's the pretty face, and I'll be the take it out on me, or to figure out whatever you can and be able to do that. So, but,
I definitely will take you up on that, Johan. I appreciate that, and Charleston, I appreciate that as well. I will be. I will be, no word of a lie, bugging you, Charleston, when we come to the athletes part of it, because I do need that type of feedback from a gentleman like yourself. I shouldn't use the word gentleman. I should use that very loosely. An ambassador, like yourself.
There you go. It just sounds so much better.
there you go. Lawson likes to be.
I'm gonna get you a shirt made up for that.
Yeah, Mr. Ambassador, right there. That's the new title, Charleston. Maybe we'll do that. Okay, Jason. Anything else that you wanted to touch base upon and let people know about this? Anything that you wanted to be able to say for about your product?
The thing about always ideas like this, and people have asked me before, where'd you come up with an idea like that?
Yeah.
It was by a chance meeting with Brad Kraft. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Brad Kraft. He's the Director of Operations for Saskatchewan Rattlers.
Yep.
Really great guy. We talked about the health and wellness, a part of my sales training course that I developed in. And he says to me, he goes, I work with some very physically skilled athletes who cannot visualize winning. And I kind of sat back and I thought, that's weird. Like, these guys have all the talent in the world to do what they're doing, and you can't win. Like, you can't visualize winning.
Yeah.
And some can only visualize winning by themselves. They can't visualize winning as a team. So when I left that meeting, and this is how my brain works, I put what he said into context with VR. And I don't even know where VR even came from, because I'm not a gamer. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. And it just kind of popped in my head, and I thought, wonder what that would look like. So I started, going down that rabbit hole, and there's some other companies that have done VR for social skills for kids, and they've done some for muscle memory for athletes, where there's one out there where you can shoot free throws without ever touching a ball, right? There's one out there where you can hit a ball off the tee without ever picking up a bat, right? Stuff like that, right? So, and I thought, okay, well, that's all fine and dandy, but what about the actual training of the brain part of it? Like and so that's why when we kind of started running with this idea, going down the rabbit hole, there isn't anything like this. And I'm going to stick the feather in my cap when I can say that, I saved a life from InvictaVR. That's going to be my first, check mark in my boxes, that somebody can come up to me and say, you know what, so-and-so used InvictaVR, and they were very, very depressed, and they were suicidal or whatever, and now they live a normal life. That'll be all I'm looking for out of this, to be 1,000,000% honest with you, because I'm not sure how many people can do that on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's unbelievable goal to have, and I'm going to be right there with you once. Hopefully, we'll be right there with you when that happens. So that's fantastic. Charleston, anything else you wanted to be able to add and ask? And
I mean, he pretty much cleared it up for me. I had a lot of questions in my head before I got on here, but he threw me off when he told me he was an Edmonton fan. So I started drawing blanks after that. I couldn't focus. You threw me off, and then I couldn't visualize anymore what I wanted to ask you. My thoughts just.
The perfect example of you need to go to module 1 to focus on now you got derailed right in the beginning, and went.
See, this is exactly why I think I need this machine, because I know I'm not the only one that does this, and I know that I hate when I walk into a room knowing what I was going into that room to get, and I always think maybe it's because of concussions, maybe it's because of too many hits to the head because of football, and I always say, it's because of football. When I know where I'm going somewhere, I walk into a room and I forget what the hell I went into that room to go get.
Oh, that's called.
And it happens to me all the time, and I'm thinking like, man, am I just getting old?
That's called getting old, drinking too much beer, or all of the above.
and then it's another thing where I'll go on my cell phone, and then I'll know what I'm going to look up. I'm going to Google something. I hit the Explorer Safari button on Google and draw a blank on what the hell I was supposed to look up in Google. And I'm thinking like, how do I forget that easy within a 15-second span?
Believe it or not, that's part of stress, and that's proven. That's a proven part of stress. So, number one, Ambassador Charleston Hughes, right there.
So I know if there's lots of people out there like me who forget when they walk into a room what the heck they were going into the room to get, and it could be something as simple as I was just going to grab my keys. Or
the one thing that I will say though is that my brothers are going to watch this, and they're going to be so embarrassed that they mentioned that I'm an Edmonton fan. They're probably never going to talk to me again. But Tim and Ken, I love you, brothers.
See, you know what? I appreciate them for not talking to you no more because you're an Edmonton fan. Send me your address. I'll send you jerseys.
We're going to make sure that we take care of all the Rider fans and send them some beer too. So your brothers will get the beer, you'll get the water. So
nice.
It's been great, Jason. Well, thank you very much for coming on. To me, this is a subject that, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, that is something that we all need to be able to learn more about, and we all need to get better about, whether that's our kids, our friends, our moms, our dads, our brothers or sisters. This is something that's affecting everyone, and we're all going to be in a better place if we can all learn to be able to get trained and train our brains in a better capacity and to be better in that regard. So thanks for coming on the show, Jay. We really appreciate it. Charleston always kind of signs off in the usual way, so I'll let Charleston say his words of wisdom, and then we'll.
Thanks for having me, fellas. I appreciate it for sure.
You know what? Thanks for coming on, Jason. But you know what? You are on the Better with Age podcast, and although there's lots of things that get better with age, my brain gets better with age. Your brain gets better with age. Wine, whiskey, leather, cheese. There's many things that gets better with age, but the most important thing that gets better with age is friendships. I've had a great time meeting you. This is like the second or third time we've met. You are one of my friends. I'm happy that you came on the show. You came on the show to see us. So we appreciate you for coming on the Better with Age podcast.
Wouldn't be anywhere else.
Thanks, Jason. All the best to you, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, fellas. We'll be in touch.